Halloween is a controversial day. Taboo or not taboo? That is the question. Here's what Chuck Colson had to say about it. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. This is BreakPoint. Like an autumn ritual, leaves start turning, the air turns chilly, and Christians argue over whether or not to celebrate Halloween. Now, I've never been a huge fan of the dark, sketchy costumes, and I'm just talking about what adults wear with that. But there's a whole history to this day, and especially to tomorrow, All Saints' Day. Back in 2007, Chuck Colson described this history behind this holiday, including its Christian roots. Here's Chuck Colson in a BreakPoint called Honoring the Witnesses.
Halloween. Ghosts and goblins will roam the streets trolling for candy. Ugh, what a shame that we've lost sight of Halloween's Christian roots. It's time to refocus on them. More next on BreakPoint. It's Halloween again, and to be frank, I really don't look forward to talking about it on BreakPoint every year. At best, Halloween has become an excuse to ask total strangers for candy. At worst, it's a celebration of the mindless paganism our ancestors wisely turned their backs on. So this year, I'd like to turn your attention to the often overlooked celebration that Halloween calls to mind. In case you've missed it before, the name Halloween is a shortening of All Hallows' Eve and signifies the night before All Saints' Day. For centuries on All Saints' Day, the church celebrated the lives of Christians who went before us. And rightly so. We can learn so much from those whom the author of Hebrews calls that great cloud of witnesses. The tradition of remembering the church triumphant dates back to the time of the first Christian martyrs. When soldiers of Marcus Aurelius Verus came to arrest Polycarp, a beloved church leader, Polycarp greeted them kindly. According to the 3rd century historian Eusebius, Polycarp ordered a table to be laid for them immediately, invited them to eat as much as they liked, asking in return a single hour in which he could pray. When Polycarp later stood in the Colosseum, accused and surrounded by the jeering crowds, the governor pressed him to recant his faith. Instead, this man who himself had been discipled by the Apostle John said this, "For 86 years I have been Christ's servant, and he has never done me wrong. How can I blaspheme my king who saved me?" As they were preparing to burn him alive, Polycarp offered up prayers of faith and praise. In the years following Polycarp's death, Christians would gather annually to take communion beside his grave. There they would remember his brave witness and take courage from his example. As the years passed, the day shifted in focusing from remembering Polycarp to honoring all martyrs. By the 7th century, the church created a holiday to honor all of God's saints, heroes of the faith. One of my favorite heroes was a woman named Monica who lived during the 4th century. She would never face flames or jeering crowds as did Polycarp, but she did face testing. That testing came in the form of her own longing for the return of her prodigal son, Augustine. His licentious lifestyle made this Christian mother weep. Later, when Augustine, who is now known as one of the foremost theologians of Christianity and scholars of Western civilization, did come to Christ, he wrote this prayer, "My mother, your faithful servant, wept to you for me, shedding more tears for my spiritual death than others shed for the bodily death of a son." You heard her. I could tell you story after story like this, from Justin Martyr to Martin Luther to Amy Carmichael, but let me encourage you to do something this All Saints' Day. Take the lead in your church to honor the great saints who set examples for us. Reacquaint your children with Halloween's Christian origins. Research together and talk about the lives of Christian heroes. Sure, go ahead and let the kids dress up like Batman and hit up your neighbors for candy. But when the hoopla of modern Halloween is over, encourage your kids to imitate some real heroes, not in what they put on, but in how they live their lives. For BreakPoint, this is Chuck Colson in Washington.